Sports Podcast.
You're joining us on the All Sports Podcast. You want to get in touch, it's allsportspods@gmail.com. Like, follow, rate us 5-star, and anything else that your audio app allows you to do that is positive in our direction to keep growing the pod. And we appreciate any engagement that you chuck our way on email. Joining us tonight is Joel. Hey, Joel, how are you?
Hey, Matt. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Had a great weekend. We'll talk about that. James, how about you? What's going on?
Yeah, all good. Great weekend watching the golf. Excited to get into it.
Excellent. So we will. We will talk about the golf, specifically at the Masters, a recap story of the weekend. We'll run through our prediction results and we'll do a little bit of a highs, lows, and who flopped and any other stories of the weekend. We'll get into a little bit of football chat, mainly Premier League. Fair amount going on. A lot of swings in either direction. A little bit of Bundesliga on the agenda. Some F1 news, and if we've got time, a little bit of miscellaneous. UFC, Rugby, Champions Cup, European ties were amazing, and a massive win for Quins. So if we get time, we'll talk about that. We're a little bit tight for time tonight, so we will rattle through. Right then, Masters predictions. How did we do? Shall I get them up?
You're very excited about this because you picked the most obvious one. You eventually ran away with it, yeah.
I did, but I think impressively or obviously, we actually picked the top three, didn't we? So my first pick was Scheffler, who obviously won. Joel, your top pick was Fleetwood.
I think he was top 4.
He had let's call it a placed finish.
He was club leader for a little bit.
He was. And James, your post-pod realignment of your number one pick was Oberg. So we'll give you that. So we pretty much picked the top 3.
Yeah, no one really came with the Homer shout. I thought he was quite impressive, but between us, after we picked 12 golfers, surprisingly, we got the top 3. So, well done to us.
Yeah, well, some of the picks that we made didn't do quite so well. So my specific picks that flopped, Rory and Rahm, James, Neiman probably didn't quite deliver on the form that he's been showing, and Woods definitely didn't finish in plumb last of those that made the cut.
I did pick 4 people who made the cut, so I'll take that, whereas others did not. Not your direction. Did not. Spieth and Hovland bombed out hard.
What did I see of Hoffman? What did he do? He did something silly.
Oh yeah, he tried to tap one in, thinking it was.
Yeah.
At that point, you know your day's going the wrong way.
Yeah, I saw that and I thought, yeah, he's cooked.
I think I saw the first hole I watched Spieth play all weekend. He made a double bogey. I was like, yeah, this isn't going well for him either. But yeah, to be fair, I said last week, Ludwig, in my opinion, will be like the next big golf superstar. You watch him play golf, he's just got the most calm demeanour, absolute textbook swing as well. Like I saw a clip of him making double bogey and he walked off the green laughing. He's not one of these guys that gets proper angry, and I think he's got the game between his ears. But yeah, should we start with Scheffler?
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, on form, it looked like he was going to be. And on odds, it looked like he was the only person that was playing the tournament, didn't he? And actually, coming down the stretch, what was his back nine? It wasn't just his back nine. It was from hole 8? They said he was something like five under through 8 or something that he was on.
Yeah, he shot 68 with 4 birdies in a row in there. So going round, the 10, 11, 12, 13 region that trips some people up. Ludwig put a ball in the water. Morikawa put a ball in the water. Max Homer, who was chasing him down, launched one over the back of 12 and made a double. And Scotty just sort of took hold of it by then. Birdie. But there's actually a moment, I think it was maybe Saturday, where he went bogey double, which is like the most un-Scheffler thing you'll ever see. And then the next hole in, he dropped a 20-foot eagle putt, and you're like, oh, okay, right, he's back to. Didn't mean anything to him. I think at that point there was no one that was really going to chase him down.
His recovery from mistakes is unbelievable, and also the chasing him down is so hard because you're going into that. Say you're going into that final day. If he's ahead of you, you're thinking, right, he's going to shoot 68 tomorrow. Like he's going to shoot between 68 and 70, which means I've got to shoot between 65 and 68 to even draw level or whatever. It's like that scoreboard pressure that he builds is a lot to overcome in the final day. And his ability to pull something back after making a mistake. I think it was his first. It was hole one on Saturday where he just pulled his approach into a really difficult spot, just kind of left of the green, and he just chipped it in.
Yeah, all the commentators, he'll do well to get this within 20 feet. He just drops it in the arm. It's just ludicrous the amount of times that happens. I think this is the first time, at least while I've been watching golf, like obviously the Tiger reign was slightly too early for me, that it feels like it's the field versus Scottie Scheffler. Yeah. There's no one that really can compete with him when he plays like that.
I feel like it has been like that at times with Rory, but he then competes with himself and messes up around.
Yeah, never in majors though. Like Rory doesn't really go into majors going, Rory's going to win this.
Is it unfair to say that that's more about Rory's personality than his golf?
Yes, between the years with him.
100%. And I think all the talk of him not having pressure and taking the pressure off himself this year was just applying pressure in a different way. Was I'm trying something really, really different to take the pressure off because there's so much pressure. Yeah.
We'll always have that pressure on because he's waiting for the Grand Slam. But I just think his scoring on par fives, to say how long he is around Augusta, is just never going to be good enough. Like he should be doing so much better on the par. Like a lot of these par fives to him are a driver and an iron. And I think it took until Sunday to make a birdie on the back nine par fives. Which is
this won't be right, but Scheffler was something like 11 under for par fives. 1 under for par fours and +1 for par threes. It was something that was kind of the split. All of his par fives are just par fours to him.
Well, his caddy now has 4 Masters wins.
Oh, let's talk about his caddy.
His caddy
James has got some great stats. You got them to hand? You'll love this.
His caddy was the caddy for Bubba Watson beforehand. So Bubba won 2 Masters with him.
Yeah.
And obviously this is Scheffler's 4 Masters. But the caddy, obviously, he gets a certain cut of whatever it is. It's usually about 10% of the winnings. And so far this season, his caddy is top 37 in the players' earnings list. He's not hit a golf ball.
Wow.
He's earned more money than Rory McIlroy.
Picking the right players.
He really is. So if you see, I'm not sure if you watched up to the final last night, but when they win the last hole, the caddy walks off with the 18th hole. So he's got 4 18th pins at home now. That guy.
Right. Okay. What they take the flag stick, do they?
Yeah. Some of them take the actual flag, some take the actual stick.
Yeah.
But he's only 1 behind Tiger, the caddy. He's having a good season.
Did you say then that Scheffler's won it 4 times, or he's won it twice with Scheffler and twice with Watson?
Yeah. So Scheffler's on 2, so he went 2022 and 2024, and then 2012 and 2014.
He could win a few more if it remains his top priority.
I didn't come out so positively from this because everyone was just saying the only way that Scotty gets beat is if his wife calls him off the golf course because he's in labour. And the whole time, I mean, she's 2 weeks. She's doing 2 weeks. It wasn't like it was going to happen, but it was the only thing anyone could talk about. And he came across quite well in his press conference, like, yeah, birth of my first child, like golf means a lot to me, but not that much. Like I've got other priorities in life, and winning isn't all like be all and end all for me.
confident probably that he'd win another. There was another guy, was it Ryan Moore, that also has a chargy? Maybe it wasn't Ryan Moore, but there was someone else whose partner's expecting. And the chat I was listening to was basically saying, if you're Scotty, that's fine. Like, you've already won one. You've got the green jacket, and you'll possibly win another. But with this other chap, I think it was Ryan Moore, but we'll use Ryan Moore as a placeholder just in case. But they were saying if it's him and you're coming down the stretch and you're winning, your kid in the future is going to be saying to you, why didn't you win a Masters? Like, you could have been a Masters champion. Instead, you've never won a major because you came to my birth.
Yeah, good point.
Right, Ram couldn't do it. Couldn't go back to back, and he didn't look remotely close to going back to back.
He didn't. He's definitely coming off a severe lack of competitive reps, isn't he? Like 54 holes is probably affecting him. I do think that with the live players in the event, it highlighted how much I want the tours back together. Like, the leaderboard was stacked the entire time, and it was a really good watch to see like who's coming from where. And what was the top 10 had 2 livers in there.
I was going to ask what the split was like.
3, yeah. Bryson was highest on 2 under, so still 9 shots back. And then Hatton and who else?
Inside the top 10 was just Cam
Smith.
And Bryson. In the top 12 included Patrick Reed and Taylor Hatton, yeah.
No one of your picks there, James, in the top 12?
Did you make any money on these picks?
So I backed Tyrrell Hatton. I backed Patrick Reed to place top 12, and I thought I did. So I cheered him on all last night. I paid like 80 quid out. So someone doubled the 17th hole to put Patrick Reed back in the top 12. And I was like, yeah, great, finished. And then looked at my bets and realised I'd backed top 6.
Oh, God.
So I was good.
Oops.
Yeah, and then I also found out a rule that I didn't know was a thing. So a friend of mine also had the top 12 bet on. And if he comes 12th and tied, they give you a percentage of your earnings based on how many people come 12th. So there was 4 of the people top 12. So he thought he was getting 90 quid and then he paid him out 15 or something.
Mm.
So it was a real roller coaster last night for my betting.
Well, you had to do something to make it more interesting because it was a done deal probably after the front 9.
Yeah, once Ludwig put the ball in the water and Bash went over the back of 12, it was done. It was like, right, just sort of watch the procession now. I did tune in quite closely to watch Tiger, as I do in most majors, and it was good to watch him get through all 4 rounds, but he really fell apart on Saturday. I think he shot 82 on Saturday. I'm just hoping that, obviously, going through 4 rounds is putting in some good reps for him and he'll look better in the next couple of majors.
Maybe. Yeah, I think the reps thing is quite interesting point because I did think playing 54 holes consistently for some of the live golfers that have now done it for a couple of years, that they're not going to have it in them. And maybe it was the 54 hole thing, but Ram saying about 72 holes, Liv's not going 72 holes. It's called 54. Live means 54. They've named it after 54 holes. That's literally what Liv stands for. L-I-V. L-I-V in Roman numerals is 54.
Wow, I never knew that.
And that's why they've named it. It's not Liv, it's L-I-V.
Oh, they're to go back to 72.
Unless they rename it Lexi, which is Roman numerals for L-X-X-I 72, then it's not going to happen. So unless you see it rebranded to Lexi, sorry, Ram, but you're playing 54 holes, mate.
They need 72 holes to qualify for world ranking points. So I think at some point they'll go to 72.
Is that going to be is the bigger pressure that they do that for world ranking points, or that world ranking points adjusts for tournaments?
You can't have 54-hole tournaments, right?
Live pressure. Money talks.
I still hope that they just come together for a combined tour. And I still think the best chance they had was to take over the European tour, but it didn't happen. That would have been great. No. There's actually a live event going on at a course near me called JCB. They're there in July, so it was at Centurion down in St Albans before.
That's the first live event happened at Centurion, didn't it?
Yeah. So the UK slot's now gone to JCB, which is like this. It's obviously
hell of a course.
Yeah, it's obviously owned by the manufacturer, and it's like a private club. So just to go and watch the live event is a £200 ticket a day for a live 54-hole tournament.
I mean, no one's paying that, are they?
I guess they'll just be giving tickets away to the suppliers to make it look busy, but I can't imagine anyone's stacking up to pay that.
No.
Lovely course, though.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a bit of a mindset thing with some of these live guys. Like, I don't know. Do they get a bit comfortable when they go there, they're making tons of money, and then coming back to these majors, maybe it's not.
I don't think I don't think it's competitive, right?
What, live?
I don't think it's competitive golf like tour golf is.
I don't think so either. I mean, I would be lying if I said that I'd watched a ton of it, but that also says to me that if there's not a lot of eyes on you whilst you're playing your golf, like the thing about one of the things I was going to say about Scheffler is like to come into it as such a hot favourite and see that through every single day. That is mindset. Like that is
so impressive.
Yeah, like unbelievably impressive. Like to have a couple of blips in round, but like I say, his recovery from those was amazing. I just do think that is really different to what these live guys are doing, and to come and challenge somebody like him who's in such a groove, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, Rahm's form into it wasn't good anyway. Like he great in Miami. No, he did. Sorry, Rahm's form was good in Miami. It was okay. I think it was 8 under. But Koepka's form was terrible coming into it. He was like hit over. So, and I think for someone like Koepka, it means nothing to him, these live events. He rocks up, he gets his paycheck, and he's probably trying to be in some level of fitness or sharpness ahead of a major. And obviously, Koepka had all last year getting used to that live jump to being lower, going to play a major, whereas this is Rahm's first year trying to juggle the two. So he might be better in the PGA. What's next? PGA next. And then, he'll be better in the next few majors. I think Rahm will is too good a player to just suddenly become bad because he's playing 18 holes less.
Yeah, you'd think so. It'd be interesting though. Like I feel like Cam Smith, like he was right up there in the majors. In every single major, he was right up there before he went to live. And now he's like, he's still high up in the leaderboard, but he's not really
not competing.
Not for the outright win.
No,
it's the US Open next. I did actually think the course and the way it was set up played quite US Open at the Masters. Like it was so difficult, and obviously when the wind was up, I think I actually watched. Could have been Saturday afternoon, and I felt sorry for some of the guys. Like the shots they're playing were great shots, and ended up 50 yards right of a pin because you've hit a slope.
Yeah, it was there early. Yeah, it was there early Saturday, wasn't it? It was those that teed off first on Saturday. It was pretty rough.
So it was nice to see a major with someone not shooting 20 under. I don't like it when it's like that. So a good middle ground.
Well, and I did think on we're not mentioning him yet. Well, other than say that he was 2 under, but Bryson on day one, he didn't look like he was pushing it, and he looked very in control. To then not have it mentally to repeat that or be close. I think maybe the pressure that was then on him from being so far and above for day one maybe got to him for the other days, but he did just after that day one just fall away.
Yeah, Bryson's par 67 comment was getting thrown around a lot
all the time,
on Thursday, but
I mean, you say something like that, it's going to get thrown back at you.
It is, but then you go and shoot 65, and it goes, oh yeah, okay, like you have had a good round of golf. And I don't know if you saw all the news about his irons. He basically had a set of irons in the bag that are 3D printed and only got made legal by the USGA on Monday. So he put a brand new set of irons in the club in the bag just before a major. This guy's a freak.
Yeah, I didn't know that. And one of my questions was going to be, has he toned down the mad scientist vibe? No. But yeah, I mean, that answers that question, doesn't it?
No. So he's basically got these irons that sort of curve, I think, from my understanding of it. It's like fairway woods and drivers do this really well, but he's had it on his irons. So if he misses...
Yeah, the back of his irons. They're like rescue irons almost, but not quite.
So if he mishits it, he doesn't lose speed, and it shouldn't go so far offline. It's basically the idea behind it. And then even his driver is a long drive head. Like, he doesn't use a traditional driver. So he is still very mad scientisty. But I actually think Bryson had a big turnaround. He used to be quite a hated golfer, and I obviously watch quite a lot of golf YouTube and stuff, and he seems to be quite a likable guy now.
Yeah, I think especially in the US.
Yeah, massively.
He's done some work. He's done some media training, and that comes through in the points that he makes and what he says. There's a bit more humility that's coming through, a bit more respect that's coming through for the other players in the competitions, like stating his regret about past things that he's said. I mean, all of it is pretty media training straight out of the manual. But then when you watch him do that putting stroke, all the hatred just comes rushing back because it's so uncomfortable to watch. It's like watching someone using a chest putter anchored again.
I don't like watching his swing. Like, I do. His swing is not nice to watch.
Someone's swing who is nice to watch, Tommy Fleetwood, and they just didn't show him on TV enough. I was really looking for it. And when he started to compete,
he was never really in it. That's why he's perennially in like the top 10, but he's never really in contention to win. I don't really know how he does it, but
did you watch? So he actually got.
Oh, you said about his putting, James. Yeah.
On Sunday, tee to green, he was outstanding. He was middle of fairways, 10, 15 feet from the pin, and he just couldn't hold a thing. So if he'd converted a few more chances, he is a nearly man, and he wouldn't have chased down it. But I actually think he played really well, and it was good to see for once.
He's super consistent. Like you say, super consistent, really lovely swing. I just really like watching him. Like, he seems like an absolutely great bloke as well.
Yeah, exactly. The kind of guy you'd love to go for a beer with.
Yeah.
I think talking about Tommy Fleetwood's swing and control in either direction is a really positive note to end the Masters chat on. And we'll segue into some football chat. Premier League this weekend, title race, heating up. Liverpool drop points. Door open for Arsenal to walk through.
Failed to walk through it.
They did. Yeah, they didn't even get a foot in the door.
Yeah.
So go on then, Joel, our Aston Villa correspondent. Let's have it. Rather than my negative take on Arsenal, let's have your positive take on Villa, because I think they were the better side.
In the end, yeah, I think in the first half, Villa had to ride their luck a little bit, and Arsenal looked in control of the game, I would say. Like,
first half an hour at least.
Yeah. Like, Villa had some moments on the break, which I think gave them a bit of encouragement. And I think even that, like, you weren't seeing Arsenal giving those situations, let alone chances, away this calendar year at least. Like, they've been so good at stopping those transitions. So something is different there for Arsenal. I think it reared its head against Bayern Munich in midweek, and then Villa were able to exploit similar situations. Villa was super brave, leaving Diaby, Zaniolo, Watkins and Rodgers all high. In the first half, it meant that there was a bit more space for Arsenal to try and beat that high line of Villas, and Havertz had a couple of situations where he got in behind and either didn't quite have the pace to get away, or maybe just snatched at his shot a little bit. Then in the second half, I just thought Villa exerted an amount of control that I didn't think they had in them at this stage of the season. They have been really limping these last few weeks, and I thought it would be really difficult for them to make an impact in this game, to be honest. But they really took the game to Arsenal second half. There is no doubt that Arsenal struggled with fatigue, whether it's mental or physical. I don't know. And it's interesting because Villa had 2 days less rest here. Like, they had to play on Thursday. And I thought that was going to be a big factor yesterday, but it just wasn't the case. They looked like they had more legs. Like, hitting the woodwork the way they did twice, Villa.
Yeah.
Like, it makes you kind of wonder, if one of those goes in, are they less likely to win? Because they scored at the perfect time. They eventually scored a goal at the perfect time in the game. Arsenal had taken off some key players in an attempt to try and jolt them back into life. But actually, the team that was on the pitch was weaker, and they didn't look like they had another gear. So, it just conspired against Arsenal in the end. And I thought Villa just kind of ran out deserved winners eventually. Like, we've spoken about Watkins on this pod every week, I think, but he is, a phenomenal striker. But someone that is worth highlighting, I think, is Morgan Rogers for Villa as well. He's come from Middlesbrough for £8 to £10 million. I didn't think he'd be playing that much. And I'm not sure if he would be if Jacob Ramsey had stayed fit. But Ramsey's got injured and Rogers stepped in and he looks really good. Like, it's early days and there's still kind of like things in his game that he needs to change. But I think he looks a really promising talent.
He's a proper athlete as well. He's like 6'2" or something. He looks like a seriously sized player to say he's a finessing attacking midfielder. Yeah,
he's a big guy, and I think that's actually yesterday defending corners. That was hugely important. He was around the front post area helping to get those first contacts. So I think that's been a thing for Villa, getting bigger players into the side, and he's one of them. But he's doing bits at the other end of the field as well.
I think the subs that Villa can make are just unbelievable when you bring in some of those players that you mentioned. Diaby started and Bailey didn't. Was it this time? Bailey?
And he brought Bailey on and he impacts the game. And it seems like whichever one of those two, Diaby slightly less so, but Bailey's really impacting games at the moment. So being able to bring him on when he's in the form that he's in, and he's still, and he's not sulking about not starting. He's coming on and just looking to have a positive impact on the game. Managed to do so. So,
I think we're seeing shades of last year's Arsenal going to pop through now. They've got a huge game against Bayern. That will determine their season.
Arsenal aren't winning against Bayern.
But I think it depends on the performance. If they go with a whimper, they will fall apart.
Next two are massive now, aren't they? Bayern Munich in midweek and then Spurs next Sunday, right?
Yeah.
But that's it. These are banana skins. Like Liverpool, Crystal Palace, before the Arsenal game. Like, what does that do to the Arsenal mentality? Because it's advantage Arsenal, and they didn't take it. Like, the mental edge when your competition has dropped points and the door is open for you to get one hand on the Premier League. I mean, that's a serious choke. But Crystal Palace and Villa have both played exceptional football this year, and I think that, deservedly so. Both teams won, and it reinforces the point of the competitiveness of the Premier League, that on their day, most teams in the league, probably 14, 15 teams in the league, can win against anyone.
I think the Liverpool one was less of a shock. Like, we've been, James is pulling the face, but I think they've been on the edge. They've been on the edge for a while. They are regularly going behind in games, and the last few weeks they have been racking up the shots and just not looking like they're going to score, like failing to convert chances very regularly. I feel like this was a bit of a crescendo, to be honest, and they've been building up to this a little bit.
The chances that they missed, though, I could have scored 2 goals in that game. Like, every time they seem to have a clear, like, on open goal chance, a body came from nowhere or a keeper's leg. Like, the XG was over 3. I hate to be an XG man because I think Palace's was over 2. So it wasn't like it was a clear cut game for Liverpool, but they should have scored like 5 or 6 goals pretty comfortably. I've just sat watching that game in disbelief as to what I was watching.
They just couldn't score. Yeah, but like I say, I just feel like that's been the story. Whereas for Arsenal, it felt different. It felt like this isn't what they've been doing. Like the Bayern game was one instance, but they're a huge European giants, and it can happen in the Champions League. I thought they'd bounce back, and I was really surprised that they didn't.
I do think that Arsenal are still severely missing a focal point up front. I think. Whether it happens or not, there's been rumours of Vlahovic from Juventus and Isaac from Newcastle. Perfect for exactly what they need for those games.
Ollie Watkins is really perfect.
No, he's not. Not for Arsenal, I wouldn't say. He's perfect for Villa because of how Villa play. He's not perfect for a team that go against the low block. which is
He
why
struggle without spacing behind. He exploits that spacing behind so well.
That's the thing. That's the thing about like Gabriel Jesus, Martinelli, and Kai Havertz. They've tried the three of them, even Nketiah, in different ways, trying to find what is that solution to the centre forward piece. And I feel like they'd maybe build it around someone like Ollie Watkins to give him the service, but I don't know. Like Tony's been touted as well. And
Tony wouldn't be bad. I don't think Tony. I mean, he plays good in a countering team, but the way that Arsenal play, it's controlled, it's measured. It's not this space in behind. You really have to earn your chance with an Arsenal team.
I really thought Jesus would be a good solution for them.
Yeah, you've got two direct wingers either side, Martinelli and Saka. You would think a false nine, almost like what Bobby Firmino did for Liverpool would be perfect. But
like I said the other week, though, he gets in the right places. He's 50% the perfect striker. He gets in the right places, but his finishing shocking. Same as Nketiah, natural striker in terms of positioning.
He can't stay fit either. Like he started at Arsenal really brightly, got a bad injury, came back, and he's been spotty ever since.
Yeah. Right. Can we talk about someone else?
I mean, unfortunately, it just looks like City's to lose now, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, they hammered the pod's favourite second team, Luton, 5-1, and they looked very, very in control. So in control, they can let one of the Premier League's best players go in Palmer, who is now Chelsea's best player and has scored a hat-trick this evening as we record. What is it, 30-minute hat-trick? Less than that?
As you do.
He's a player.
Yeah, well, I was listening to the radio on the way home just then, and they were saying for £40 million that might be the signing of the season. If you look at his goals and assist numbers, if City try and sign a Cole Palmer from somebody now, £100 million player, pretty comfortably.
It's funny, isn't it? Like you could probably only sign him from City for that money. I don't really understand what happened. Like he was touted as being like their next big thing, and
he wanted to.
It must have been him, right? He must have pushed to go.
He actually wanted to leave on loan for the season, and Pep said, "If you want to go on loan, you can go." Sold him, and he just wanted to play football. I think that was it. He didn't really want to leave City full time, or he's come out into an interview and said he just wanted to play every week.
Well, let's go a little bit further down the table. Conscious that we're running out of time. Everton, their point deduction, they have appealed against the 2 points that they've been deducted. So we'll see what that does. Obviously, they're getting smashed tonight, so that definitely helps Luton. Notts Forest drew at the weekend. They got 1 point, so there's 1 point in it at the moment between Luton and Forest. And 2 points between Luton and Everton to cling on to survival. So the survival race is hotting up as well as the title race is cooling down, as it looks like Man City are back in control of that one. So I think that would just about do us for the Premier League. Got anything more to say, James?
I was going to say, I just don't think that Luton or Forest are good enough to then catch Everton. I know it's only a point, but they both look terrible and will probably go down. Yeah,
you struggle to see where they'll get it from.
Yeah.
We can't not mention the Burnley own goal.
This poor keeper's having an absolute nightmare.
It made me feel ill watching that.
I feel bad for him as well because he came back. So James Trafford was the keeper, wasn't he?
Yes.
Juric came back for one game. I think they won. And then he had the nightmare against Everton and then that own goal in maybe back-to-back weeks or pretty close to each other. I'm sure he just wants to hide
some 5 points in the last couple of weeks, hasn't he? For context, Matt, or listeners who haven't seen this, it's a simple back pass. He's under no pressure and just lets the ball roll under his foot into the back of the net. And it's worth seeking out the commentary from Burnley's in-house media team because, he can't believe it.
I have to have a search for that afterwards. Shall we?
I'm going to watch it now whilst you tell me what's happening in Germany. Oh, goodness me. Why did he try to trap his foot on top of it instead of with the side of his foot? Oh, okay. That's hard to watch.
Yeah, it is hard to watch. It's literally so difficult to watch.
That's exactly it.
Because all those people watching you, you're just like, oh, God.
Because that's a career ender.
He'll always be remembered for that.
Yeah.
It's like Enkelman with Villa, you say Unkelman to someone and you know exactly. He did a very similar. It was very similar. The thing that happened, like
I used to play golf as a kid, and my dad, when I was 18, used to come to me matches, and it was the last game of the year, last game at 18 years old, and we'd won the league and stuff, and so we were sort of taking it a little bit easy, and it's there. It's a moment that my dad still won't let down now. Their goalkeeper's taken a free kick from just inside their area. I've come for one of them flashy claims. It's gone straight through my hands, and the goalkeeper's still.
How old were you?
18.
Oof.
I know. I couldn't look at him in the eye for a week.
And you had like 21 people watching you.
Yeah, imagine how bad you'd feel with 25,000. Right, away from my childhood trauma. So on to German football. So Leverkusen, first title in 120 years.
At a canter as well.
At canter, Bayern's 11-year dominance ends with Harry Kane. This poor man has got the curse.
Is he the unluckiest man in football? He's probably not, because he's won a golden boot, hasn't he?
No, though he's had some really glorious failures, hasn't he? Like this being the latest of a few. But
let's not talk about Harry Kane. Let's talk about Leverkusen and Alonso, because that's phenomenal. It's great that they've won it after 120 odd years, but the majority of football teams in the world don't win the top league.
Yeah, I just think it's because the Bayern monopoly is so strong in Germany. That's why that impressive. And they haven't lost a game. It's not in the league. They have not lost in the cup yet. They've not.
We've all been there.
It's
only Arsenal fans.
You lost in the cup. They haven't lost a single game.
Yeah, it's a coaching phenomenon. They were second bottom when he took over, and I feel like it wasn't like instant as well. Like there was, and that is because he has completely overhauled the way that they play. Like he has come in with a completely new idea. I don't know if I don't know about a lot about like, the transfer business. I know they've lost some players. Obviously, Villa have signed Diaby, who is a big player for them. I don't really know what they've done like outside of that in terms of bringing people in, but it can't have done that much. Like it hasn't been that long. It's been like 18 months, hasn't it? So yeah, I just think it's a real tip of the hat to him as a coach and exciting for what he might be able to achieve.
Yeah,
they're in the domestic cup too, aren't they? And they've also still in Europe. Pardon?
Still in Europa, yeah.
Yeah, Europa. So they're on for a treble.
When I say it, they genuinely have not lost a game in any competition.
Well, if they knock out West Ham and Liverpool get knocked out by Atalanta, they'll be favourites.
Yeah, they'll be favourites to win the lot. But if you look at their team, like they've made some transfers that you wouldn't like go, oh yeah, what amazing! Like they've got Granit Xhaka, who's become like a backbone of that team. They've got some obviously really exciting players that are coming through. Like Florian Wirtz, I think he's been there for a couple of years. People have always mentioned him as like the next big player. But like you mentioned, they just play a completely different way to how they did before. Really dynamic, 3-4-3, very attacking. They're good to watch. So yeah, it's got to rank as one of the best managerial achievements if they manage to stay unbeaten. I'm just glad that he's not leaving there to go to Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I am as well. I think that talks a lot to like him as a person as well. Doesn't it? He's great. I mean, maybe it's easy. Maybe it's easy to stay another year because they're going to be playing it in Champions League and following it up with another year as a young coach. He's not been there that long. Maybe it's an easy decision to make. I don't know, but I think it's
at what point is it then a hard decision? Because you look at Klopp winning the league in the face of Man City dominance, and doesn't look like you can repeat it, and then has stayed there or thereabouts, but has now maybe stayed a little bit too long and doesn't look like he's going to get it again. But
I don't think that at his age and with what he's achieved, he'll ever struggle to get a good job, Alonso. Like, he's not going to die wondering about Leverkusen. He might go, I should have stayed another year and see how he got on in the Champions League.
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect move for him. I was quite annoyed that he didn't go to Liverpool, but it makes so much sense when you think about why he's staying. Unless the team gets decimated and they pick off your Wirtz and your Pringpongs and your Boniface.
I think the rest of the Premier League's probably happy that he's not gone to Liverpool yet.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the rest of the Premier League will be worried about him at Liverpool.
I mean, one of the other factors that gets talked about a lot is how many of the big clubs are going to be looking for new coaches this summer. And actually, like, I think it shows a real acumen from him to look at that and not feel like I need to go now because all these jobs are available. I'm going to get a big one. What he's actually looked at it and thought is, they're not all of these big clubs are going to get all of these appointments right, and like, it's not outside the realms of possibility that somebody's looking for somebody next summer as well, or in the next 2 seasons at least. Like,
the concern is that Ancelotti stays one more year and then he goes to Real Madrid and the dynasty continues at Real Madrid. And they win another 10 Champions Leagues. But yeah, really impressive. I like watching Leverkusen. So not often do I cheer against the UK team in a Europa Conference or a Europa League, but I hope they win it all.
I wouldn't be unhappy for Real Madrid to do well with Bellingham there. I'm becoming a little bit of a Bellingham fanboy because watching him play is just so classy. And it'll also benefit England as well. But so I wouldn't mind seeing him do well under a coach like Alonso.
On the England topic, on current form, can you leave Cole Palmer out of an England team?
Well,
but I don't know where he fits in the team though.
You have to drop Bellingham back or you drop Saka. Those are your only 2 options.
And you can, and I think you can drop Saka and you can drop Bellingham back.
Yeah,
and I think what I would like to see anyway is some flexibility. Like, you don't need, like, having Palmer is just an opportunity to give Saka a rest. Like, we've talked a lot about it in previous tournaments. A lot of the chat is how many minutes players have to play and all that stuff, and like, use the squad. Like, I know there's some lobbying going on from the coaches to make the squads 26-man squads rather than 23-man squads, and that might be the case for this tournament. And I just think that benefits England massively, like being able to
26 in COVID year, wasn't it?
That sounds right. Yeah,
it went a little bit larger in COVID, and they've reverted back to 23. Huge benefit for someone like us.
Being able to get somebody like it. I mean, I don't know if he's an absolute cert for the squad as a 23-man squad, but like at 26, he'd be an absolute cert.
That's crazy.
I mean, people are talking about Watkins as a question mark as well. Just like, I just think that shows the strength of the England pool at the moment. That somebody who scored.
It does, but also it speaks to Gareth Southgate's loyalty to players that may not be as on form.
Yeah, and also to Kane's, world-class ability in that whichever forward goes, they are playing second fiddle, and therefore he might only take 2. But yeah, I mean, I think England have got a great chance, and just having someone like Palmer is just another string to their bow, and being able to bring him in and take Saka out and not really see a huge drop-off in quality, but making sure that Southgate has the tactical flexibility not to just expect Palmer to do what Saka does. You know what I mean? And for the people watching, not to expect that as well. I think that's a really key thing for England.
Yeah, to know that with these combos on the field, this is the way we play rather than slot into the way we play. Yeah, definitely agree. Well, chapeau to Leverkusen and Alonso. Real quality. Speaking of Alonso's, we'll segue across to the world of Formula One.
I mean, Alonso was the big question mark for next year because there was talk of him going to Mercedes, there's talk of him going to Red Bull. He was the one that could have changed it all, and he just went, no, I'm going to stay where I am. I'll sign 2 more years. So everyone's got a bit more safe because Alonso's happy with this.
Yeah, I heard some, and it was some rogue chat from Eddie Jordan, who basically said there's going to be 2 Spanish drivers at Aston Martin next year, and one of them is Alonso. So he's basically saying that Sainz is an option for Aston Martin, and I don't think so either. I don't think Lawrence Stroll is binning off his son when the whole reason he got into F1 was to make his son a Formula One driver. However, his son is not good enough. So if he wants to win a world championship, then he needs to bring in someone like Sainz.
I don't think Lance Stroll's that bad at all. Don't get me wrong, he's been, they've bought his seat all the way there, but he's not terrible. He's not like one of these like Mazepins who can't.
Yeah, because he's an amazing car. He's not. He's the number 2 driver in an amazing car. Alonso's leaving him in the dust.
I actually think Lance Stroll, if you look, had a really good junior career. Like he had going through the categories, he was clearly very.
No, I'm not having it because in a junior career, money matters because you've got the best technical sport. They buy track time. He was doing hours and hours of track time, and you just get such an advantage. I don't think there's nothing there. There's nothing there that I think he's got what it takes. Like he doesn't have the raw talent that people like Verstappen, and although Verstappen's family were in F1, but so he probably had it too. So bad example, but Hamilton,
Hamilton's
Alonso.
probably the exception. Maybe Alonso, yeah, but like Lando Norris comes across like pretty normal and chilled, but he's got
Alex Albon,
so much money. Yeah, I think that's never going to happen. They won't drop him. Sainz will end up either in the Mercedes seat.
I never knew you were so keen on Lance Stroll.
Or he'll end up in the Sauber that will become Audi.
Gross.
He's not going anywhere, is he? Carlos Sainz is probably the second most informed driver at the moment. He'll get a team. But the good thing is we've got I think it was brought up a couple of weeks ago about Australia starting the season and they're going back to Australia.
Great.
Yeah. I like that. Starting in Melbourne.
Yeah, it kicks off in Melbourne.
Does Australian sport go anywhere else other than Melbourne? You've got the tennis, the Formula One, the Gold Cup, all happen in Melbourne. Anything else of note that happens in Australian sport in another city?
Don't know. The Melbourne Cup happens in Melbourne, obviously.
Excellent insight.
Yeah.
I was talking to someone over the weekend that I think has the best job, one of the best jobs in sport. He works for Hawkeye. So he goes to all the events for tennis and he's the engineer on Hawkeye.
Nice.
Yeah, that's one hell of a gig. He's like,
that sounds like low touch as well. I just feel like Hawkeye.
It breaks, does it?
Always works.
And I was like, just press a couple buttons and you travel the world for it.
Switch it on.
Yeah. What's working, mate? I'll just turn it off and on and go, don't worry about it. Kick back into action.
Other miscellaneous sport then, a couple of other things to cover before our 9 o'clock deadline. We'll go rugby first. I want to talk about it a little bit, obviously. But Harlequins went away to Bordeaux. We spoke about the fixtures that were coming up and we said Harlequins got smashed by Saracens. Saracens then got smashed by Bordeaux and Bordeaux's team is just littered with superstars. But the way Arsenal play, in essence, counter-attacking. Did I say Arsenal?
You did.
Interchangeable.
I think you're going to make some believable comparison between
No, I'm afraid not. No, I just misspoke. The way that Harlequins play, like they're attacking rugby, Bordeaux were just playing into their hands. They were just kicking the ball deep to let Harlequins go and attack. And the Harlequins just played the game of their lives. And it was as close and entertaining as a 41-42 game sounds. Harlequins have been there and done it before. They were 28-0 down in the Premiership semi-final against Bristol and came back to win. And similarly in this.
Which British teams are left in? Is it Northampton still in there?
Yeah.
Northampton
and Quins. So Quins have got La Rochelle. Not La Rochelle. Quins have got Toulouse and they will be playing away at Toulouse, which is also an incredibly hard fixture, whereas Northampton will be going away to Leinster to play against basically just the Irish side. And I think they stand a chance. Northampton looked so dominant in their win.
I think the question here is, do they play like football? Is there 2 legs or is it just you're away because you're away?
In these knockouts now, it's just one. Yeah, so they just play one, and it's home seed advantage for how you did in the pool games. That's how they do the seeding for who plays home. And it feels like in these rugby games, the home advantage is enormous. So both Quins and Saints are away, but
when are they?
Anything can happen. Mid-May, 4th of May. Yeah, weekend of the 4th of May.
Nice. Have to give those a watch.
So they're going to have to use the force to get through that.
That should be a yellow card.
Yeah, I was thinking about a Toulouse joke, but couldn't quite nail it.
And I went for it with Star Wars.
2 feet, yeah.
Mm.
No regrets.
No regrets.
Never any regrets. Because if you don't take risks on some of these, then they'll never come off. So you've got to take the risks. And that seems like a good place for us to end this evening. There's other things that we could talk about, but we won't. We'll save it for another time. Maybe there might be a little bit of cricket chat next week. We've had the county championship started. We'll also have more football going on. The F1's back next weekend. So we'll have a lot to chat about next week and unpack. But if you've enjoyed listening, then like, follow, subscribe, notification settings on, rate us 5-star, get in touch at allsportspods@gmail.com and turn on auto download. That's a big one for us. Keep growing the audience and growing the pod, and we'll see you next time. Cheers, Joel.
Cheers, Matt.
Thanks, James.
Cheers, guys.